What is it that we are running from? All of us. Yes, every one of us. Welcome to the Man on Fire podcast. I am your host and the creator of Man on Fire, David Mehler. Well, in a previous podcast, we started to dive into, we have fears. We have fear of success. Yes, we have fear of success. Listen to that podcast. And we have fear of failure, right? We don't want to feel like we're a zero, a nobody. We don't want to feel inept, inadequate, stupid, dumb. So we all have this form of fear and we're all running from something. But what's underneath all that? We peel back the carpet. What is underneath that we're really running from? We are running from suffering. Nobody wants to feel like crap. Nobody wants to feel down. Nobody wants to feel depressed. Nobody wants to feel pain. You were taught as a little kid, if you have a boo-boo, let mommy or daddy kiss it. Let's put a Band-Aid on. Nobody wants to suffer. Nobody wants to feel bad. We all want to feel alive. We want more out of life, right? But unfortunately, as we've discussed in some previous podcasts, in order to do that, we do it in an unhealthy way. We've been pain managing because we're afraid to suffer. We're afraid to be down. We're afraid to feel that emotion. We don't value that emotion, which I'll get into in a little while. But what do? We pain manage. We use porn, we use food, we use alcohol, we use weed, we use overworking, we use money, we use sex, we use affairs. We have all these ways that we pain manage. Why? Why? So we don't have to suffer. I don't want to feel this. I want to feel this. Life affords me all these opportunities to not have to feel this. I want to feel this. I don't want a headache. Let me take this pill. I don't want to feel down. Let me take this antidepressant. No offense to anybody. I'm not poking fun at anybody. There's no reason to have shame or guilt around this. I just want you to understand this game that you can't win because what we're really running from is our suffering. So my wife and I, many moons ago, we went to India and we learned this amazing concept. I'll never forget this. Well, we learned a lot there, by the way. I learned that my stomach doesn't do too well in India. But separate from that, what did I learn that was more of spiritual in nature is I learned that man suffers because man avoids his suffering. What the hell does that mean, David? It means that the reason that you're actually suffering is because you're avoiding diving into, facing and feeling, being with, getting with your actual suffering. What do you mean by that, David? Well, as I was just explaining, we have been conditioned that if you don't like a certain experience that is coming your way, we have ways to make it go away. If you don't like your headache, no problem. We'll give you an Advil or an aspirin. If you don't like your depression, no problem. You can have alcohol or you can take antidepressants. If you don't like your anxiety, no problem. We'll give you pills for that. If you don't like feeling down and in the doldrums, you have all these ways to get away from that. So we have never been taught from day one. There's a beauty, there's a value, there's a magnificence, there's a glory, there's a rapture, there's an exquisiteness to actually turning around and facing and feeling exactly what's there. But why don't we want to do that? Well, because most of us, we don't want to feel like we're not good enough. We don't want to feel unworthy. We don't want to feel unlovable. And there's multiple stages of suffering where it starts that way. First, you feel inept or inadequate or stupid or dumb or not intelligent enough, which is all the stories that we carry in our head, which is why we don't go after that new business or why we settle for a relationship that's below the standard of our soul or why we stay in a relationship for too long or why we don't lose the weight. We have all these stories swimming in there. And underneath all that is the feeling of I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. And if I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy enough, then underneath that, when we peel the carpet back, we feel that we're not lovable. What does that mean? It feels like I don't really deserve to be loved by who? By mommy and daddy, right? When we feel not good enough, we don't feel lovable or worthy of their love. So for me, for example, I probably shared this story in the past. When I was 5 years old, my dog had died in front of me while I was playing with it. And of course, I blamed myself. I told the mailman it was my fault. And you form these stories as little kids, like, my mom and dad are never going to see me in the same light anymore. They're going to see me as bad. They're going to see me as a horrible person. And it felt like they were pulling their love away from me. So we all have had certain hurts and certain wounds and certain traumas where at certain ages, we really had this, belief system form in our heads that, oh my God, I'm not lovable. And then underneath all of that is when you go long enough feeling unworthy and you go long enough feeling unlovable, what ends up happening is you start to feel disconnected from everything and everyone. You start to feel isolated and you start to feel alone. And you feel like everyone's over there. Everyone gets the big cosmic joke of life. How come everybody else is happy? How come when I scroll through Facebook and all these social platforms, everyone's killing it, everyone's crushing it, everyone's making money, everyone's smiling, everyone's in a great relationship, and you feel left out. You feel like you don't belong. And for some people, unfortunately, They literally have either taken their life or they consider ending their life. And my heart goes out to anyone that have had those thoughts or knows somebody that did that, because we have these feelings, and no one told us that there's a beauty to actually learning how properly to face and feel these emotions and to value them, right? Because we value emotions like happiness, we value gratitude, we value joy and grace and rapture and awe and omnipresence. We value all of those. Like, oh yeah, I want those, David. But nobody taught us to value the beauty of feeling like I'm not good enough, or to value anger or rage or frustration or sadness. Like, they're just beautiful emotions that are all part of the spectrum of life, the myriad of different emotions that we're afforded the opportunity to experience so we can feel human. But from an early age, they were labeled as the bad ones. They were labeled as, you don't want those, let's get away from those. And yes, as I just shared, we have so many ways to escape those feelings. So, what suffering really is, by the way, ultimately, when you do suffer long enough and you feel unworthy and you feel unlovable and you feel isolated and you feel alone, more often than not, what also happens is you probably have lost your relationship with a higher power, whoever that is for you. You've lost your relationship with God. And that's a scary place for a lot of people to be, when you don't feel like you belong and you don't feel the love coming from above, right? You don't feel the love coming from above, from God. That's a scary place. And then we have the story that it'll never end. It'll never end, right? I can't go there because it'll never end. That's why I have to take the pills. Or that's why I have to take the alcohol. That's why I have to turn to the weed. That's why I turn to the porn. That's why I turn to the fears. That's why I turn to TV, social media, because I got to get out of this. Because if I go there, it will never end. If I open up Pandora's box, I won't be able to close it. If I fall into the well and I fall to the bottom and I'm yelling help, nobody will hear me and I'll be trapped down there and there's oil all along the walls and I can't get out of this well and I'm screwed. So we don't go there. And so suffering is really just the avoidance of suffering. Yeah, we have a lot of stories why we don't go there, but the real form of suffering is that we're avoiding our suffering. Now, good news. I have great news. I have phenomenal news. I have extraordinary news. Who wants the good news? Like, because some of you are like, yeah, David, that's been me. Like, I've been suffering. My heart goes out to you. But number one, there's a beauty to suffering. So, what's the good news? What is the good news? The good news is that it only takes a few seconds to a few minutes to properly, and I say properly, feel suffering. David, what the hell are you talking about? I've been suffering for the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, since this person died, or since my dog died, or since my kids went to college. Or like, I've had this my whole life. I've been down my whole life. Okay, slow down. Slow down. It only takes, I'm inviting you into this hypnotic journey with me, that what we've been taught is wrong. You go visit children in a playground and you will see they are in and out of emotions within seconds to minutes. Hey, that one's crying. Oh, wait a second. 10 seconds later, they're laughing. Oh, that one's really angry. Oh, look at that. 20 seconds later, they're happy. Children are still modeling how emotions are properly felt and experienced. They take seconds to minutes and then we're on to the next one. Seconds to minutes, we're on to the next one. Seconds to minutes, we're on to the next one. What happens for so many of us is that we avoid the emotions we don't want to feel. And so they linger around for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, some of you 30, 40, 50 years. I've been depressed. No, 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 no. Slow your roll. And please understand, I'm not poking fun at you. I'm not sharing anything to bring anyone down or to carry shame or guilt. Our two twin brothers. No, put that to the side. I'm seeking to expand your mind and see this through a new lens, through a new perspective, to truly feel emotions that are there. It only takes seconds to minutes, but you can go a lifetime avoiding them. You can go a lifetime living on the periphery and not hitting the bullseye. Now, I've been working as a healer in the transformational space, as a chiropractor since 1994. And I have had the privilege of probably working with well over 100,000 people at this point. And more specifically, over the past 12 years, I've been working just with men. And I have time after time after time worked with people and helped them connect to where they're holding that sadness, help them feel, where are you suffering? Where in your body does it live? Because it lives somewhere. And when we learn where to find it in the body and we learn how to actually be with it, what I've seen time and time and time and time again, and I do these demonstrations all the time in front of our room. Speaking of time, I do this in front of our room at our Man on Fire 4-day immersion, which is our signature event. And I demonstrate every single time in front of a whole room of men. Watch how fast we can get this person into the center of their suffering, the dead center, and watch what happens. And every single time, the same exact thing happens. What is that, David? What is it that happens? They actually start to laugh. After they go right into the sadness and they got some tears and they're crying a little bit and they're feeling that sadness, they're feeling that unworthiness, they're feeling alone, they're feeling unlovable, they're feeling disconnected from God. Right after that, when you go just a layer deeper, oh my God, all of a sudden an immense amount of laughter and joy starts oozing out of them. And it's so conflicting for the mind, for the brain. Like, wait a second, I thought I was suffering, but there's a thin veil, a thin piece of paper right between the bullseye of hell and suffering. And boom, right when you go into the center, you can't stop laughing and you can't stop the joy. And all of a sudden, this beautiful innocence of this little boy or little girl inside of you comes through. And next thing you know, you say, oh my God, suffering is the most beautiful emotion in the world. All I have to do is get to the center of it, face and feel it, get to the center. And next thing I know, it turns to joy. This is incredible. This is incredible. I want more of this. Yes, because it only takes seconds to minutes to go there. The question that people always ask is, well, will it come back? Like if I go there, like if I buried some stuff from when I was a kid, whether I know I did or whether I don't know that I did, maybe it's conscious, maybe it's unconscious. Will the suffering ever come back? And the answer is yes. Yeah, you're peeling back a layer of an onion. You can't imagine how many times we buried those feelings. Thousands of times, right? It's not just one isolated event. It's the thousands of times you cried in your crib and nobody came to change your diaper and feed you. It's the thousands of times you cried when you were a toddler and your emotions were prematurely stopped because it was making one of your parents uncomfortable. We have all these emotions still buried inside of us. So yeah, you got to peel back the layer of the onion. And as I always teach to my men at the Man on Fire community, inside that community, is when suffering calls you, hey, just pick up the phone. Yeah, hello, who is it? Yeah, it's me suffering. Yeah, what do you want? Well, I want you to get with me. I want you to face and feel me. I don't want you to avoid me anymore, like you learned in India, right? That suffering is nothing more than the avoidance of suffering. So I'd like to actually be felt. Yeah, no problem. I hang up the phone. I put my hands on my body. I find where it's located. I do a certain breathing technique in the nose, out the mouth. It takes a few seconds to a few minutes. We cry our way to the center, and then boom, we get to the laughter, we get to the joy. And bam, all of a sudden your state is different. You feel different. You have more energy coursing through you. Because when you're holding on to these emotions, when you're holding on to the sadness, when you're holding on to this grief, when you're holding on to the unworthiness, the unlovableness, feeling isolated, feeling alone, oh my God, it's a lot of bound up energy. And all of a sudden, when you liberate that energy, you finally get with what you've been running from. You finally turn around and face the beast. You face the dragon. You face the lion. You face and feel it. You're the mighty buffalo that goes into the center of the storm. Boom. It turns to laughter and joy. And you get there within seconds to minutes. And for those of you that want to have some experience with that, you get your butt to one of our Man on Fire 4-day immersions and we'll teach that. And we teach it on some of our virtual workshops as well. So, what are 3 things that you can do right now, to start getting help with this? For those of you that are like, oh my God, I want to learn how to do this. Yeah, absolutely. But so let me give you some tidbits of what you can do right now. And just as a side note, for anyone that is listening that has been, diagnosed with something, whether it's depression or clinically depressed. And yeah, I'm not here to diagnose anybody. I'm not here to minimize the severity of what transpired in your life. What I can tell you, though, as again, having the privilege of working with so many people since 1994, is that I have found, and no one can take this truth from me, I have found that the greater the hurt, the greater the wound, the greater the trauma that someone has experienced in their life, the greater the magnitude of the gift that they're here to bring the world. And some people are very scared by that, right? Because there's an enormous amount of responsibility. Sometimes it's just easier to hold on to our trauma, our hurt, our wound. And I'm not minimizing that. It's scary to give that up or to get to the other side of that. But I can tell you, of the people that I've had the honor to work with, it's been incredible to witness how so many of them went through, childhoods that you wouldn't wish on anybody, but at the same time, you realize from the lens of the soul, it was so needed. It was so poetically and perfectly designed with divine order and divine precision to help that person ultimately tune into and tap into the gift that they're here to bring the world. And so, for anyone that's listening right now, please understand, I am not minimizing what you might be going through or minimizing the story of what transpired in your life. But I also want you to know that I also see you. I get the bigness of who you are and I get what's possible in your life. And I know that there's a giant heart inside of you that wants to shine more powerfully and bring more of you to the world. So, with all that said, what can we do right now? Well, there's 3 things we can do. Number one is when you catch yourself pain managing. Well, what do you mean pain managing, David? Well, go back and watch the podcast again. The pain managing I'm talking about was, the porn, the affairs, overeating, the alcohol, the weed, Oh, let me just have a glass of wine to take the edge off. Well, let me just smoke this to clear my mind. No, no, no. When you catch yourself pain managing, including overworking, stop. Just stop. Become aware of it. Just stop and ask, what emotion am I avoiding right now? Just stop. You pause. You be still. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. I can feel there's some anger there. Oh, yeah. Wait a second. I feel there's some sadness there. Okay, great. Number two, feel it. What do you mean, Dave? I feel it. Yeah, I mean, sit in it. Literally sit in the emotion so that the thought actually becomes an embodied experience where you're with the energy of the emotion. You actually give yourself permission to cry or to yell or to scream. And of course, do this in a place that's safe where you're not going to hurt yourself or scare anybody else, right? You have to have socialized permission to do this, but give yourself permission to have privacy and just go into that emotion. So catch yourself pain managing. Ask yourself, what emotion am I avoiding? Number two, just feel it, face and feel it. Just feel it all. Fall to the ground, fall in fetal position, cry, get a box of tissues, roll around, scream, hit into pillows, don't hurt yourself, and just feel it all. And when you're done, I want you to say out loud or write down, what are you grateful for? Right? A lot of the antidote to all of this is just putting your awareness, putting your focus on what am I grateful for? It's too easy for us to fall into the trap of things that we don't have, things that we don't want, and fall into that trap of being hard on ourselves. That voice in our head that we've talked about in previous podcasts, the pirates, man, they could really weigh us down. For a moment, put your awareness on what are you grateful for? I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that my legs still work. I'm grateful that I have hands that function. I'm grateful that I have food on my plate. I'm grateful that I have a few friends in my life. I'm grateful that I make a living. I'm grateful that I have a child, right? Whatever you're grateful for, just put your awareness on what you're grateful for. Why? Help restore some faith, help bring in these higher energies, that plug you back into your heart so that if you are going to suffer, at least you have a little bit more grace to go into your suffering. You have a little bit more safety to go there because you're connecting to a higher energy that comes from the emotion called gratitude. All right, guys, it is your Man on Fire mentor, David Mehler. Thank you for joining us in today's podcast. Put in the comments, what's one takeaway that you got from this podcast? And for anyone that you know that really could benefit from hearing this podcast or any of the previous ones, please turn them on to what we're doing. We're really here to help men rise with passion, power, and purpose and step into their masculine leadership. And in doing so, part of our mission also is to be the guardian and the protector and the gatekeeper of the feminine heart. We're helping men rise into their mature masculine leadership so that we can really honor the beauty and the sacredness of the feminine. And it's something that this planet needs tremendously right now. It's with so much love and so much gratitude. I will see you in the next podcast. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, then hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you'll know the next episode has dropped.